for a good 20 minutes, I thought I had, my instructor dead on my shoulder. And I was just literally holding, a body on my shoulder. And it was quite traumatic. So I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
That's Australian student pilot Max Sylvester talking about his third flying lesson, during which he had to land the airplane after his CFI had a seizure and became unconscious. Max obviously survived the landing, and his instructor has since recovered. Hello again, and welcome to Aviation News Talk, a weekly show with relevant news and flying tips for pilots and student pilots to help keep you safe. I'm Max Sylvester. Today we'll be talking with Max about his experience last year when he had to be talked down to make a landing after only a couple of hours of total flight time. And here's some takeaways that all pilots may want to consider so that they can prepare for an emergency. One is to study hard ahead of time so you'll know as much as possible when an emergency occurs. Another is to stay calm, which, as you'll hear in the audio, both Max and the air traffic controller stayed remarkably calm. And finally, never be afraid to ask for help, which is good advice for all aspects of life. After we talk with Max, I'll run the full ATC audio of the emergency, which is courtesy of liveatc.com, so you can hear exactly what it sounded like. Also, at the end, if you feel that you receive value from this and our other episodes, I'll tell you how you can join the 3 to 4% of listeners who take just a couple of minutes to financially support the show through either Patreon and PayPal. Now let me tell you a little about Max. Max is 30 years old, is married, and has 3 children. He's studying at Air Australia International in Perth, Western Australia, to become a commercial pilot. He's interested in photography and has an Instagram page and a YouTube channel, and I'll include links to both of those in the show notes. His favorite thing about aviation? Well, it's that feeling of freedom he gets when he flies and the ability to travel to unique places. Now here's our conversation with Max Sylvester. And I'd like to welcome Max Sylvester to the show. Max, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Max. Good to be here.
Now, this will get a little confusing, right? Max?
Just a little bit, yeah.
First time I had a guest here on the show named Max, so we'll see how we'll have to, how about it be Max US and Max Down Under or something like that? Hey, so tell folks where you're located. Where are you talking to me from right now?
So I'm in Perth, Australia, West Australia.
Yeah, that sounded like a southern accent to me. Southern hemisphere. So you're pretty well known for an incident that happened about a year ago where you ended up landing the airplane yourself on your third flying lesson. But tell me, let's take it back a little earlier than that. Tell me about your interest in aviation. How did that begin, and how did you end up taking flying lessons later?
I've always loved aviation, just every side of aviation, whether it's, the Wright brothers, like any sort of aircraft, whether it's the military aircraft as well. Just anything to do with aviation I've always loved as a kid. I remember having the old Qantas, a big Qantas die-cast aircraft of, I think it was the 737, and I used to just play with it. Even my son at the moment now as well, he's got all these little toy aircrafts, and if he loses one, he knows exactly which one is lost, and he's only 2. And he loves helicopters as well. So I think it's definitely, we've just had it. I mean, I've always loved aviation. So I think it's just gone down in the generations, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty common. A lot of people I talk to can trace their interest back to when they were really, really young. Well, tell us about your long-term goal for aviation. What do you want to be doing eventually?
So I want to be doing at least like regional jets, airliners, but because I've got a young family as well, and I've tried the working away situation where you work in the mines and things like that, and it's quite hard. And I know that if you're an international airline pilot, you are away from your family a lot. So, I don't want to aim, for the big airlines. I just want to have a family orientated where I am away from family, maybe a couple of days within the week, but not months, not weeks away from the family, because family's important to me. So that's why just a local, maybe Perth to Melbourne, Perth to Darwin, things like that.
It certainly is nice when you get a job in aviation where you can come home at night, which is certainly the case with me as a flight instructor. So I'm always happy
Yeah,
that end of the day, I know where I'm going to be, which is
yeah,
which is
exactly.
great. Well, you and I first connected over Instagram, and I see some references there to DJI, the drone company. So that leads
Yeah.
me to think that somehow you're involved in drones and photography. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always, ever since DJI has come out, I've got the Osmo mobile pocket and everything like that as well, and the gimbal. So I've always liked DJI, and I've just wanted to sort of get involved in the photography side of the videography side of things as well. So I reached out, and they've got an affiliate program that they do with people that are interested in it. So I signed up, and I've got my own link. So if somebody was to go onto my page via my bio in my Instagram, they can go onto the link, they can buy something on there, and they can go through the whole DJI website, and they'll be able to, maybe get discounts depending on what is available at the time.
I got it. So let's talk about your flying in airplanes. Tell us about your first two lessons, the one that went normally. What kinds of things did you do? What kind of airplane did you fly? And how much time did you get flying in those first two lessons?
Yeah, so the first lesson was sort of like an introductory to the effective controls. So you're just getting a feel of what it feels like to handle the plane, what it feels like to do a roll and to fly straight and level, to do a descending turn and things like that. Just your basic effective controls. So I think what we worked out is that obviously the instructor will do the takeoff, get us to the training area, then you'll have a little bit of a go of the controls, and then he'll take over again, and then he'll say, all right, so this is what you call a roll, and then you'll roll at 15 degrees or whatever it might be, and then you're expected to do the same thing. So I think we worked out it was probably about 10 minutes of flying in that sort of hour of actual flying, and then and then you go down and go back to the airport, and then you go do your briefing, and then the next lesson I think I did straight and level, straight and level, and then that was just flying at its constant straight and level. So then you're getting a feel for what it feels like to be consistently flying straight and level, and then you come back, and then you do your debrief.
And what kind of airplane did you fly on those first two flights?
A Cessna 172.
And your total time in those two flights sounds like you were up for maybe a total of 2 hours, of which you did a small percentage of the total flying?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
And did you get to use the radio at all, or were you mainly just observing your instructor use the radio?
Yeah, just observing, yeah. So he'll sort of say, this is what you meant to say, and then you'll sort of like pretend that you're doing it, and then that was it.
So your third lesson is the one that got you quite a bit of international attention when things didn't quite go the way you planned. Tell us about that day. How did that lesson start out, and what happened during it?
So it was a late lesson. It was a Saturday, so we were just like had the kids. The kids wanted to come down and watch as well. My wife wanted to come down with the kids, and we had like a little bit of a play at the airport, and then I went up. And then everything was fine. We took off to the training area. We did our climbing and descending, and everything was fine. And then we're like, "Yep, you did well. You did what I expected you to do. Let's head back." So we started heading back, and because obviously we've got the reference points that we need to go to be able to get into the airspace of the airport, we were kind of like, yep, we'll head to the boatyard, 3,500 feet, just, sort of plotting along. And then all of a sudden I look up to my right, and my instructor is sort of looking up into the sky. And I thought, oh, maybe like he spotted something. Maybe, there's a plane, or there's something that, I needed to sort of look at. And then I sort of asked him, and then he didn't say anything. He was just blank, and then all of a sudden he started shaking and then started having a seizure, and I was like, what the heck? yeah. Like it was kind of like, is this real? Like, what do I do now? And then straight away, because um, I sort of panicked, but then at the same time, I was like, I've got to keep my head because we're in a lot of strife here if I don't. So I originally did my emergency call on, because we were listening to the ATIS on the way through so we could see if there's any changes, if there's, any runway changes or anything like that. So we were actually on the ATIS when everything happened. And me only being, a novice, I wasn't aware that you couldn't transmit through the ATIS as well. So I originally did my emergency call on the ATIS, and then I was like, that's, of course, it's just a talk, you can't talk back to them. So I had to figure out how to work the radio and get the right channel. And it was just lucky because I was listening to the ATIS. I knew exactly what channel I needed to get onto. I just needed to get onto that channel. So with the dials, I just, played around with the dials, and I was on the channel, but then I couldn't transmit anything. And I was like, why can't I transmit anything? And it was because there was the two dials on the two screens on the radio, and then you've got that little white button in the middle. So then you can switch the main to the one that you can hear on the other side. So for me, I was sitting there going, oh, what have I done? Like, how do I flip them over? And, I finally pressed the white button, and then flipped over, and then I could actually, I said something, and I was emergency. This is Tango Foxtrot Romeo. And then, everything else was live on ATC.
And I just wanted to jump in for a moment and play that ATC audio so you can hear what Max's first call sounded like.
Emergency. This is Tango Foxtrot Romeo. Can you hear me?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, Jandakot Tower. I can hear you. What's the problem?
So it was, how do I explain it? It was something where you're kind of, you're scared. Don't get me wrong. I was scared and I was panicking, but I was conscious enough to control my anxiety of panicking and being more straight focused on what we needed to do, which is, what my instructor said before was, it's navigate, communicate. Then there's navigate, communicate, and correct me if I'm wrong. What's the third one again? Sorry.
Oh yeah. First one would be aviate, fly the airplane.
Yeah. So aviate, navigate, communicate. That's the one. Sorry. So yeah, aviate, navigate, communicate. So that's what I did. I aviated. I made sure that we kept the plane straight and level, get it to where it needed to go, and then obviously I communicated. So yeah, it was one of them things where you just have to get going with it and try and survive. Yeah.
How far away from the airport do you think you were roughly when you started to call them and tell them you needed help?
I think it's around about 20 nautical miles, or just out of the barrier for VFR. Like, when you've got your starter license, is 25 nautical miles of an airport is what you're legally allowed to fly. So the training area is just there. So we were, heading back. So I would say maybe 20 nautical miles from the airport that I had to fly myself.
And I guess you knew what it looked like, and so it was pretty easy then just to kind of point in the right direction and find your way there.
Yeah, just to sort of use my reference points and go, all right, this is where I know is, all right, yep, I know where I am now. Yep, all right, cool. And then just kept on using them reference points to get us to where we needed to go. And then it was lucky enough as well that when I got onto the radio, they just said, you got no traffic, which is lucky. You got no traffic, just head straight to, once they identified me, they just said head straight to Jandakot. And, then I started doing my circuits, which was my first circuits as well. So, I wasn't expecting to do my circuits until I was at least, 12, 13, at least 12 hours or something like that.
And so from the time the emergency occurred to the time you finally got on the ground, how long was that? How long were you in the air flying by yourself?
I think it worked out to be about 45 to 50 minutes from when I called the emergency.
And it sounds like you made several attempts at landing. Tell us about that and who was giving you guidance on how to do that.
Yeah, so Josh, the ATC gentleman, he was the one that was talking to me at first, and he was so professional, so calm, and he was just, he just said, you've got this. It was almost like talking to the instructor in the like in the cockpit with me as well. It was almost like talking to a mate. He was just so calm. He was just so Australian, and he got my humour as well. And he knew, I just needed to get the plane down. And at first I thought, he's just going to let me come straight in. And he was very understanding that obviously it's my first time doing this. I wanted myself to be able to do at least a couple of practices. And he was like, yeah, no, that's fine. As long as you've got enough fuel, the airport's clear. You can go as many times as you want. So I just wanted to feel comfortable, and he was completely happy with that. So I think if it was, somebody different and they were kind of like, you need to get down now, it could have ended up a lot worse.
And did Josh bring anybody else into the tower to help him with this, or?
Yeah, so we got one of the instructors from Air Australia to come up and had a little chat to me as well, and then Josh swapped back over with him as well. So it was a brief chat. It's just sort of like this is what you need to do. Get the RPMs down. You're going a bit too fast. Sort of bit of coaching, and then he swapped back over with Josh again.
And how many different passes do you think you made over the runway?
I think I did 5, and then the 6th landing was the actual landing, because I was quite close. It was very unfortunate as well, because there was only the one video of me doing one circle and then the landing. So I got really close at one point to landing, and then the instructor, Josh was like, no, pull up. And then I was like, yeah, no, because I was starting to run out. I was obviously just floating for a fair while on the runway, and I was, quite close, but it was just more of a safety precaution of in case I was to go off the runway, because at the end of the runway there's a road as well. So if I had have just kept going and ran out of runway, it would have ended up a lot worse. So he just said full power, get it back up, and away I went. And I think it was either one more or 2 more after that was when I did the landing.
And were you using flaps during the landing, or were you just keeping it simple and just doing power and pitch and not worrying about the flaps?
So the last 2 I used flaps, just so I could actually get the feel for everything, because he originally said I can use the flaps, and I was like, well, I'm not in the white arc yet. And sort of like made it sort of a joke to him. I was like, I'm not in the white arc yet. I'll get in the white arc and then I'll put my flaps on. And I'm sure they were like, oh, this guy sort of knows what he's talking about then, because if I was, doing like 100 or something, or 90 knots or something, they would have chucked the flaps on. I'm sure they wouldn't have liked that. The flaps probably might have fallen off or something, but I doubt they would have. But yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing the right procedures. And I also said that on the radio as well. I was like, if we could try and just talk as professional as we could, just so I could sort of pull it back a little bit to the casual side of it and try and be a lot more professional, so I could get a feel for how it's actually meant to be going.
And here's what that final 90 seconds sounded like when Max landed the plane.
This is going to be the final approach down to the runway. Remember, RPM down to 1,700. Slightly raise the nose. We want to maintain keeping that nose pointed at the threshold. If you're starting to drop too low, increase the power to maintain your height. Tango Foxtrot Romeo received. Doing really well, mate. And as you're getting closer, we want you to cross that threshold at about 65 knots. Robert, just immediately we'll look at reducing that engine speed or the engine power as you're getting closer to the threshold. What you're doing right now is perfect, though. Keep coming. Looking great, mate. This is perfect. down towards the threshold, nose down. Nose down more, nose down more, nose down more, nose down more, nose down more. Perfect, perfect. Power, little bit, power off, power off, power off, power off. Raise the nose gently. Raise the nose gently. Hold it off, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it right there. This is perfect. Hold it, hold it. Very gently start braking now. Gently start braking now, and you're down on the ground. You did it, mate. Well done. That's amazing. You've done so well. Just brake right there on the runway, and we're going to have all the vehicles come out and meet you on the runway. Just hold it right there. You've done absolutely an amazing job. Well done.
And tell us about the runway at Jandakot there. I mean, they have commercial airliners that come in? Is it kind of a big runway?
No, so it's mainly just general aviation. They've got the Royal Flying Doctors there as well, which is our medic aviation company. That we do have like companies that have their own personal jets and things like that come through, but nothing big lands at Jandakot.
So tell us about some of the challenges you had while you were up there flying, using the radio and flying and trying to attend to your instructor all at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, the hardest part for me was actually when he sort of came to, and when he was kind of like, what's happening here? Like, where are we? And I said, Rob, I'm in control. I have control of the aircraft. You've just had a seizure. We've got the emergency declared, and you're in good hands, and we're gonna get you down to the ground as safe as we can. And I told the ATC, so I told Josh, I said, he's awake. He's sort of in and out. He's not there, but he's breathing. So that's up by himself. That's the main part. But then the hardest thing was he was so out of it that he started to play with the flaps and change the radio and do other things like that. And I was quite firm, and I said, like, just leave the plane alone, please. I have control. I don't want this to get worse than what it already is. So that was actually the most scariest part, to be honest, because I mean he could have just been like, oh, yeah, like I know what I'm doing, and then just, pitched straight down or anything. So that was probably the scariest part. But other than that, it was keeping him up, keeping his neck upright so he could breathe. And another scary part as well was because he started bleeding out of his mouth. But obviously because he bit his tongue, there was obviously blood coming out of his mouth and everything like that as well. So for a good 20 minutes, I thought I had, my instructor dead on my shoulder, and I was just literally holding, a body on my shoulder, and it was quite traumatic. So I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
And so after you landed, obviously they took him to the hospital.
Yeah.
Your instructor was Robert Mollard. Tell us how things worked out for him and what he's doing these days.
So yeah, I think he's going to go. He's trying to do aviation still. He's just waiting for his clearances to get back from CASA. He had a brain tumor. It wasn't cancerous, which is the main part. They removed it within, I think, a couple of days after the incident. They removed it, and then within a week he was back at home. And almost a year on, he's hoping that he'll be able to get his license back so he can actually fly. But he's been trying to get jobs within the aviation, so we could do maybe ground instructing or something like that as well. So, but we're meant to catch up on Tuesday last week. But with the kids and everything like that, we ended up not being able to catch up. So we'll try and catch up either over the weekend or maybe next Tuesday. We try and catch up every Tuesday just for like a sort of ground lesson, because normally I'll have my lessons on a Wednesday. So we'll sort of have a catch up on the Tuesday and then go through everything on the Wednesday with the actual instructor that I'll be flying with. Well, so
in a very real sense, Robert owes his life to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think of it like that, but he sure does, and everyone else sure does. I just think I was in a situation where I needed to get us both down safely, and that's what I did.
Now, you had mentioned that you had some issues with the radio in terms of being able to hear. What was that about? Why couldn't you hear?
Yeah, so obviously, what happens when we go up in the air? We've got the major airport, Jandakot and Perth International. So there's obviously a lot of chitty chatter within the radios. So the instructors like to turn the radio down, so then we can hear clearly through the intercom, and then there's no confusion or anything like that. So it's just more of a distraction, a less distraction in the cockpit. And so he's turned it down, and obviously not knowing too much about the radios at that point, I didn't know how to turn it back up. So I've actually asked on the ATCs, can somebody please help me turn the radio up? Because I'm literally sitting there with my hand cupping the headset so I can push it against my ear so I can actually hear what ATC is actually saying. With the sound of the engine and everything else in the background and everything else going on. That was one of the hardest things was trying to actually communicate with ATC so then we can actually communicate what we need to do and how to do it properly. So there was a couple of things where Josh, the ATC controller, was like, can you do this or can you tell me that? And I obviously the communication came through, and I thought something else was being told. And so I think it was, can you tell me what your transponder is at the moment? And then I said, nose down. I think that's what I said. And, for me, it was kind of like, this is what he's asking me. And I was just, I just could not communicate too well with the whispers in my ear.
Yeah. Well, obviously that worked out, and good that you asked for help. Tell us about the landing. What was that like, and did the airplane survive it?
Yeah. So the plane was completely fine. After it, there was no damage whatsoever. I think I had a lot of actual pilots message me a couple of days after as well, saying, I've got this much hours on my logbook and I still can't get a landing that good as well. So, but yeah, it was. Obviously, I had a couple of attempts of doing the landing, and I felt confident enough. And I said on the radio, I was like, "Do you want me to land? I think I can land." And Josh was like, the ATC controller was like, "Yep. If you think you can land, then land." And that was, we had a little bit of a crosswind because I remember in effective controls, my instructor was saying that if you have a bit of a crosswind, that you need to sort of crab it in, and then once you crab it in, then you land onto the one wheel, and all of the things that I'd learnt in that first two lessons, because I soaked it up. And because I did a little bit of study before, because I bought the Bob Tate books, and I did a lot of the reading of how everything works as well prior to my first lesson. I think that helped a lot as well to that study. So I sort of landed on the one wheel and then came down, and it was as everyone says, it was a perfect landing. So it was amazing that we got down safely after just 5 or 6 attempts.
Yeah, you're doing a great job of describing a crosswind landing, which is pretty remarkable that you would have known about that and how to do that on your very first landing. Yeah. Sounds to me like one of the real keys to this success story was all of your study and preparation. Tell us about the extent to which you'd been reading about aviation and studying before you ever got into the cockpit.
So yes, before I even started, I went to the school and I said, can I have the materials that I need to be able to do the study first? So I got the Bob Tate ebooks, and that's everything from the start all the way up to CPL. And I think I ended up reading up to PPL stage, and then I think that's when I started. I was like, yeah, okay, I feel confident enough in actually flying, and then that's when I went and said, all right, let's do our first lesson.
Well, I'm curious about one thing. You mentioned that your wife and kids were there. Did they have any idea that there was an issue going on?
No, well, at first, so what happened is when we were heading back before I even got onto the radio, I called my wife and I said, my instructor's had a seizure and I think he's dead. And then my phone cut out.
Oh, no.
So so straight away she was like, what the heck? And she had just left the airport, because our house is maybe about 5 minutes away from the airport. So she just left and then she'd got home and she was just about to pull into the driveway when I called. So then she just put the car in reverse and then called Air Australia and said, hey, I've just got a phone call from Max, and this is what he said. And then obviously from that point of her reversing and calling Air Australia, I've got onto the radio and said, emergency, emergency, emergency. And then obviously because they have their radios there that they can hear what's happening as well. So straight away they were like, hang on a sec, that's our plane. Hang on a sec, that's, our instructor. And then that's when obviously she called and said, yep, no, we've just heard him on the radio. We're just going to send somebody up to the tower so that they can give him a hand. And she headed back and then, she had to worry about the kids and make sure that they were distracted enough so then she could concentrate on what needed to be done. And she ended up calling my sister and her partner. So they came down and helped out with the kids and everything like that as well. So yeah, she's definitely a rock, that's for sure.
Well, she must have been scared to death.
Yeah, I mean, I could only imagine. I think what made it worse was that phone call, and then it cutting out. I couldn't have timed for a phone to cut out at a worse time. I think I don't know if it was the reception or what happened. Can't explain why it cut out either, but it just cut out. And then I was like, I had no reception to call back or anything. And then I managed to get onto the radio, so she would have heard me on there anyway. So,
right.
Yeah.
All I can say is, wow, this has the makings of a good movie. Now, I read somewhere that you have sold your story as a screenplay. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So they're meant to be doing a video, obviously with COVID and everything like that. Everything's been sort of pushed back, but we're meant to be doing a screenplay, I think they call it the silver screen in Australia. So not anything, like a major movie or anything like that, but we're hoping it's gonna create to something amazing.
Got it. Well, I heard Tom Hanks was down there in Australia. Do you think they'll get him to play the part?
I said Dwayne The Rock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. So you figure he looks like you, so that's why. That's a riot. Well, it's been almost a year now since this occurred.
Yeah, almost.
How's your flight training been progressing since then?
Oh, with COVID, we were locked down in the house for a couple of months, so we've sort of had to back off with the training. I was so close to get my actual solo as well before all this happened. So I've just been doing a lot of the study for the exams and things like that because I want to obviously get to the CPL stage. So I need to do all the exams that I need to do first for the PPL. So I've just been studying a lot and trying to get to the point where I can just, once all this is over, I can just walk in and say, yep, let's do this, let's do that, and move on. But as you know, in the whole world, this COVID is just completely, cut back on everything.
Yes, these are definitely unusual times.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm curious, do you have any suggestions for pilots who might be involved in a flying emergency someday? I mean, based on your real-world experience, any kind of key success factors you look back on that, or any suggestions you have for pilots?
I would say make sure you study and don't always assume that something that you're studying will never happen to you. These emergency procedures that are in place are there for a reason. And, although a medical episode like what I had is not in the medical procedures for 2.4 hours, but they are there. Other medical episodes that could be there. You just need to make sure that you don't have that attitude and never have the attitude that something could never happen to you, because prepare, just in case. And then if anything does happen, you can be like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what to do.
Yeah, that sounds like sound advice. Well, sir,
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear when you're sitting up there in the front seat of one of the airliners, because I think you're bringing a lot of good experience with you already.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that I can, have that position to, to be able to get into the airliners and things like that. I've been told that it's a good starting conversation for the airliners as well. So what experiences have you had in life? Well, at the start of my career and when I had 2.4 hours.
That's great.
But yeah, I don't know. You might know, obviously, knowing a lot of aviation questions as well, is do you know what the record is for the earliest solo?
Oh, it's a good question. I think I do, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's held by the Wright brothers.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they had to teach themselves how to fly. But those were pretty short flights back in those days. I think about 100 yards or so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, obviously, they hold the record. I was more like talking like later modern times, but I don't think that was probably, I think they hold the record. I think they'll keep the record too.
Yep. No, it sounds to me like you may have the record for shortest flight time till solo.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why I was kind of thinking, besides the Wright brothers, have you heard of any other stories besides my story that has happened before?
No, I don't. But you know what? I'm thinking you've probably had enough excitement in your flying career already. I'm thinking at this point, you probably don't want to be setting any other additional records.
No, definitely not.
Well, Max, thank you so much today for sharing your story. It's been great talking with you.
Yeah, thanks, Max. I appreciate it. That sounds so strange to say, Max.
And my thanks to Max Sylvester for joining us today. I'm sure you can tell he's a great young man, and I have no doubt he'll have a very successful aviation career. I've included links in the show notes to a video that a bystander shot of Max's landing, so you'll want to check that out. Also, I've included links to Max's Instagram page and his YouTube channel. And you can always find our show notes by just swiping in whatever app you're listening to us on with a phone, or you can find the show notes and links on the web at aviationnewstalk.com/158. And stick around to the very end if you want to hear the full ATC audio of the emergency. But first, if you're part of the 97% of listeners who just haven't quite yet gotten around to supporting the show, hey, I totally understand. But you are getting a full hour of useful information each week that can hopefully save a life. And if you're working at home because of COVID, well, you can probably find the 3 to 4 minutes it will take for you to sign up to donate. Everyone who donates gets their name read on the show, and depending upon what level you sign up at, you may receive the scripts to our news shows, links to the many news stories we had to cut for time, free access to my online courses, and at the $50 a month level, I'll read your name on every news show and send you a signed copy of one of my books after 2 months. If you'd like to receive all of those goodies, then you need to sign up through Patreon to make a monthly donation. To do that, go to aviationnewstalk.com/awesome and enter your credit card information. You can also support the show through PayPal, and that system gives you a choice of either donating monthly or making a one-time lump sum donation. Now, if you sign up via PayPal, I don't have a way to get the show notes to you, but you can still get the free online courses and books that I offer at the $35 and $50 a month levels. And to donate via PayPal, go to aviationnewstalk.com/PayPal. And thank you so much for your support. And now here's the full audio courtesy of liveatc.com of Max's emergency. And let me explain just one thing. At one point, Max says that it's his first flying lesson. Actually, it's his first flying lesson in a Cessna 152 because his first 2 flights were in a Cessna 172.
Emergency. This is Tango Foxtrot Romeo. Can you hear me?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, Jandakot Tower, I can hear you. What's the problem? Tango Foxtrot Romeo, roger. Whereabouts are you at the moment? Tango Foxtrot Foxtrot Romeo, do you know where your transponder is? Sure, Bravo X-ray, make full soft landing, clear to land.
Full soft landing at... Hello, this is Foxtrot. This is Tango Foxtrot Romeo. Can you please hear me? I can't hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Do you have a transponder on board?
I can't hear you very well. I'm going to decrease my engine so I can hear you a little bit better.
Above Zilla Kilo, turn cross zone, clear visual approach.
Turn cross zone and clear visual approach above this kilo.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, do you know what your altitude is?
Can you hear me?
Romeo, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Tango Foxtrot Romeo, do you know where your transponder is?
Oh, you keep cutting out.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, are you familiar with how to operate the airplane? Tango Foxtrot Romeo, do you know how to operate the aeroplane?
Very, very light. This is my first lesson.
Instructor at the moment, are they unconscious?
He's leaning over my shoulder. I'm trying to keep him up, but he keeps falling down.
Just on the aircraft. The first thing we're going to do is make sure that the wings stay level and that you keep consistent speed and consistent altitude.
At the moment, my altitude is 1,900.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, Roger. Do you know if you have a transponder on board? Do you know what that is?
Copy that, I do.
Okay, do you know what it's reading right now?
What's that, sorry?
What's the numbers on the transponder?
Can you repeat that, please?
What are the numbers on the transponder reading?
The reading is nose down.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, can you see any obvious landmarks? For example, the Kwinana Freeway. Can you see that out the window at all?
Yes, I can see Thompson Lake.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, good. I think we have you identified at the moment. Can you see Jandakot Airport at all? I've activated the rotating light on top of the tower. At the moment it looks like you're heading north, and it should be, if you look directly ahead and then to the right just a little bit, you should see the runways there. Can you see that?
Yep, I'm just going over Thompson Lake. We were originally meant to be going through the boat shed and then coming through, but what runway do you want me to land on?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, we will try to get you in for runway 30. You can come straight to the airport right now if you like, come direct to Jandakot.
Copy that. Do you want me to wash some of this speed off? Because currently I'm at 2,600 and my airspeed is 1,110. Copy. Did you receive that tower?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, we did copy that. We're just trying to visually identify you at the moment. Can you make a very gentle right turn for me, and that'll help us identify who you are?
Copy that. Doing a right turn now.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, thanks. We can see you out the window, so we're tracking where you are at the moment. You're doing a really great job. I know this is very stressful, but you're doing an amazing job, and we're going to help you get down to the ground, okay?
If I do a flyover first, please.
As well, to your company, just to make them aware of everything that's happening, so they can help out as needed shortly. So if you want to just straight away, we'll just overfly to the field and get you nice and comfortable with that. So you can just overfly direct Jandakot, and we'll get you having a look at the runways so that you're familiar with the runway that we're going to get you to land on.
Copy that. I'll just do a fly around then.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, there's currently no other traffic airborne at Jandakot at the moment, so you're not going to be getting too close to anyone. That's going to be fine.
Sorry, what was that? Can you repeat that?
Foxtrot Romeo, Romeo, there's no one else airborne at Jandakot at the moment. You're the only one up there. So you can take your time just getting familiar. There's no one else that you're going to be getting anywhere close to. If you want to reduce your speed there, just watch, it's called your RPM, that 2,600 that you were talking about, that's your RPM. Just make sure that the numbers on that are in the green, not yellow or red, and you can just gently reduce that speed there, but just keep an eye on your speed, that you're not going into the red too much, and keeping those wings level and keeping your nose nice and level on the horizon.
Yes, copy that. I've decreased it now just under 2,500, so I'll just maintain this at the moment.
Okay, Tango Foxtrot Romeo. We're getting an instructor out at the moment to help give you more specific information for your aircraft. Right now you're flying in that 1-2 direction, so the runway that you're sort of going in the direction of is going to be opposite direction to where you're going to be flying to. Did you want to make a slight right turn? If you want, yep, there you go. So just continue that nice right turn for me, and out the right hand side of the window you'll see the runways, and I'll just get you to have a look at the runway you're going to land on.
Copy that. Thanks for your help.
Alright, that's what we're here for.
Lucky I remembered how to put onto the actual right radio, because we were on the ATIS.
Yeah, the ATIS won't be helping you, but I will be able to help you. That's what we're here for, so it's a really good thing you're able to find that. So at the right-hand side of the window, you're going to see runway 30. You'll see an aircraft waiting on the ground right next to the runway, and that's the threshold that you're going to land on. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see the headlights of the aircraft.
Back towards the field. We'll keep you nice and close to the airfield.
I'll turn right so I can start heading back towards the airport.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, A-firm.
Jandakot Tower Archer Zulu Zulu Whiskey 1500 at Boatyard, inbound with hotel.
Zulu Zulu Whiskey Jandakot Tower, maintain 1500, report approaching at Metro.
Zulu Zulu Whiskey, maintain 1500.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo. Just in front of you and just slightly to the left is the runway we're going to land you on. That's runway 30. So if you're able to see it, there's 3 runways at the airport. There's 2 that are parallel to each other. There's one single runway that's crossing across both of them. That runway's out to your left right now. That's the runway we're going to land you on. Can you see that? Big 30 on the threshold?
Yep, copy that.
Yes, that's the one we're going to land you on. So what I want you to do now is make a left 90-degree turn to start flying along that runway, and that's going to get you into a nice circle pattern that's going to fly you along the runway and then back onto a left turn to sort of start doing a circle over that runway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you just want me to do a circuit around that runway?
That's correct. So right now, just straighten up, go nice wings level, nice and calm, and straight up the runway, and just fly along the runway so you get an idea of what it feels like to be overflying that runway.
Copy that.
Jandakot Tower, Cessna 152, Robbie with the Yankee, was at Oakwood 1500 in receipt of hotel, now passing Forestdale Lake, Romeo with the Yankee.
Romeo with the Yankee, remain outside Class Delta airspace, emergency in progress.
Plane outside Class Delta airspace, Romeo with the Yankee.
So Tango Foxtrot Romeo, the plane that you see out to your right just waiting there, that's the holding point, that's the end of the runway that you can start landing on, and then anywhere from where you are now along the runway, that's where you're going to be landing on. Does that feel fairly straightforward?
Copy that. Do you want me to just get comfortable with the circuit?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, A-firm.
Zulu Zulu Whiskey at Adventure World.
Zulu Zulu Whiskey, maintain 1500, make one left orbit.
1500, one left orbit, Zulu Zulu Whiskey.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, have you landed any aircraft before by yourself or with someone else at the controls with you?
No, I haven't.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, understood. When you're ready, make a left turn, and we're going to start a nice square circuit around that runway, so that'll be your next leg is a nice 90-degree turn there.
want me to circle back around until I get to 03?
Yeah, affirm. So Tango Foxtrot Romeo, when you're ready, make that another 90-degree left turn so you can fly back down with the runway out to your left-hand side. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, can you tell me how your instructor's doing at the moment? How's he looking?
No, he hasn't woken up. I've just tried to lift his head back up just to check to see how he's going, but he's not responding. So we're going to need an ambulance and somebody here ASAP.
The airplane, the instructor, we do have an ambulance coming. They're on the way, so they're going to meet you on the ground and they're going to give him the best care that they can. The most important thing, because he's sitting, if you can, keep his head upright, sort of leaning back against the headrest if there is one, and that'll just keep his airway nice and open for us.
Copy that.
Zulu Whiskey, join downwind now. Left downwind runway 30, clear visual approach.
Join left downwind runway 30, clear visual approach. Zulu Whiskey.
Charlie offshore from the back.
Okay, he's opening his eyes now.
Kilo Foxtrot Charlie, remain outside Cloud Starter airspace. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, Roger, are you able to communicate with him at all?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, is your instructor communicating at all?
No, he's not.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, that's okay. Your job right now is just keep focusing on that aircraft as best you can. Secondary to that is just to keep his head upright and his body upright in the seat. But we're going to get you on the ground very soon and get both of you guys on the ground safely. When you're ready, make that left turn back towards the runway again, and we'll line you up again and just sort of get your feeling for that. If you want, you can start making a nice gentle descent back towards the runway and sort of start lining you up and get a feel for what it feels like to start descending and landing towards the runway.
Copy that.
Zulu Whiskey, report sighting a Cessna mid-base.
Traffic sighted, Zulu Whiskey.
Uniform Papa Yankee, what are your intentions, sorry? Roger. I'm just going to do another circuit with the Cessna, and once they're past the runway, I'll get you going. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, do you know how long have you been airborne? Do you know how much fuel you might have on board?
I'm not too sure on how it works with gallons, but it says I'm just over half.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, that's okay. I just had a quick chat actually to your company. They told me you've got 5 hours of fuel on board. So you've got, I think you've spent about an hour airborne so far, so we've got plenty of time to do some practice and rehearsal before we get you on the ground, so nothing to worry about there.
Okay, so when would you like me to get onto the ground then?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, ultimately it's up to you. We want you to be nice and comfortable before you attempt a landing, so just what you're doing right now and practicing on the runway is really good. So right now, just in this moment, just get a feel for what it looks like with that runway beneath you, and as we slowly descend you towards the runway, when you're happy to make that landing.
Yeah, copy that. That crosswind's pretty bad, so I've just got to get used to the way that the aircraft flies, because normally I'm flying the 172, so this one's a lot different.
Yeah, they've told us that you can fly the 172 after a couple of hours, so that's really good. Just keep doing what you're doing and get the feel for how the 152 feels. Obviously a little bit different, but you're doing really well. You're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, well, my flight instructor did say that I was the best student he's had.
Well, we definitely have a story to tell at the end of the time. Papa Yankee, you ready, immediate? Papa Yankee, clear immediate takeoff. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, can I just climb a little bit back up so that needle's back up to about 1,000 on your altitude, and when you're ready, a left turn back towards the runway. Again, all your controls nice and slow and controlled. Doing a really great job.
Thank you. I'll climb to 1,000.
Zulu Whiskey, clear to land.
Clear to land, Zulu Whiskey.
Zulu Whiskey, no need to respond. Just keep an eye out for the Cessna on your left. At the moment, they are staying quite confidently inside the circuit.
Yep, I have it.
You want me to fly high, did you say?
Sorry, Tango Foxtrot Romeo, I transmitted on top of you. Say again what you said before.
Would you like me to fly to 1,500?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, no, that's fine. Your attitude where you are right now, that's great. You're doing a really good job. Just where you are is fine.
Okay, Tango Foxtrot Romeo out. I want to just keep maintaining my air calls as well, so I'll keep on saying Tango Foxtrot Romeo if that's okay.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, that's totally fine. You can do what you want there. I know what your voice sounds like now, so if you want to just talk to me, you can just talk to me at any point. But yeah, you're doing a great job. Just stay just in the circuit direction like you've been doing with those nice easy left turns, and you're doing a great job. We're just getting one of the instructors from Air Australia up into the tower so that they can have a chat to you and get you onto the deck real soon.
Okay, thank you. Can you please tell me how to turn it up a little bit so I can actually hear you?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, on the actual cup of your headset, on your earpiece, there might be a little dial on the right-hand side, and I'll just keep talking, and if you adjust that, you should be able to get a bit of a louder volume. Can you hear me a little bit louder now?
I think it might actually just be my headset. Hang on 2 seconds. Well, I guess I don't need to practice emergency procedures then.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, no, that's fine. We know exactly what's going on, and yeah, we're going to take care of all of that for you.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, affirmative.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, you're doing a really great job. Just hold off on that level right there and keep watching the runway as you're going past. Getting a...
Yeah, copy that. I just wanted to see how much I needed to descend to be able to comfortably go down.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, I've got your instructor right behind me. He told me that your level right there, as low as you got at the point that you did, was perfect. So we want you to do that exactly the same time, do exactly the same thing next time, but just a little bit slower.
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, can you please repeat that? Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, your instructor, I have one of your instructors behind me. He says that the approach you just made, before you got to the runway, the height that you got down to was perfect. So what you were doing to see how low you needed to go to land on the runway, you got it down to the exact perfect spot. So that was perfect, your height. What we need to do is on the next approach is just reduce the speed.
Can you repeat that last?
So we just need to reduce your speed, how fast you're going.
Sorry, can you repeat that last? It's just my headset's not very loud.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, that's okay, it's just your speed. You're a little bit too fast, so on the next approach we need you to go a little bit slower. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, could you hear that okay?
Sorry, I didn't.
That's okay. Just keep on coming back around to the runway and we'll keep you in that circuit.
Copy that. Foxtrot, Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, and you're doing a really great job. Everything that you're doing is really, really good. Your turns are really nice and gentle. You're holding your altitude really well. Everything that you're doing is spot on. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Tango Foxtrot Romeo. I hope they don't think I'm paying for this flight. Sorry to say. Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, yeah, no, if they make you pay for it, I'll pay for it with my own wallet.
I wouldn't expect that.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, what we were just talking about before with the instructor, he says that your approach to the runway, so as you were going down to see how low you could get to the runway, you did it perfectly. Your approach down to the runway was perfect. It was just a little bit too fast. So we just need you for the next time just to slow it down a little bit. That was the only problem, it was just a little bit too quick heading down towards the runway.
Yeah, copy that. I was just doing it just so I can actually check. I wasn't going to land, I just wanted to check to make sure what my angles and how the crosswind is going to feel. Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
Exactly what we need you to do. We're not going to make you land or anything until you are absolutely ready to do it. However, just so that you know, when it comes time to land, that approach that you made, it was perfect. So we want you to do the exact same thing. And even though we're not going to get you to land just yet, if you want to keep on practicing that approach just to get that right, that's exactly what we want you to do.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, copy that.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, your profile, your descent profile is perfect. You just need to raise the nose slightly and reduce the power just a little bit.
Raise the nose and power.
Raise the nose, so raise the nose, but just reduce the power.
Raise the nose and reduce the power when I'm going to land, yeah. Copy that, powering on Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, that's great. You're doing great. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, I've got the instructor in the cab now. His name's Malcolm. I'm going to get him onto the radio now and have a chat to you about the actual landing procedure. He's going to tell you exactly what to do and talk you through what to do with the landing.
Yep, copy that.
You're looking good.
How are you going?
Yep, I'm fine. You're on the downwind leg and you're back to 1,000 feet, are you?
Yes, I'm on downwind now if you're going to be, if I'm on the 30 runway. Correct.
Right, when you turn onto your final leg again, you're going to lower your nose and aim for the runway threshold and do precisely the same thing that you were doing previously when you were approaching the runway.
Copy that, Malcolm. Thank you. Tango Foxtrot Romeo. Thank you, Malcolm. Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you hear me?
We have airport personnel that will help direct you. Just give me... So it'll be just a few minutes. We're just talking to the aircraft right now. Because I'm talking to them directly, I can't give you a quick update yet. They're just still airborne. We're talking them through the landing procedure. It'll be a few minutes at least yet. Stand by for JH personnel to arrive and give you further information.
Okay, Max, are you established on final now?
Yeah, copy that. You just went quiet for a second. I couldn't really hear you.
Okay, sorry, I've just been informed that you're on downwind still.
Yeah, copy that. I'm turning now onto base and then onto final.
Okay. If you turned onto final, you should be at about 700 feet.
About 600, 500, yeah, about 600.
Car 5 on site. We're just going to position ourselves to find shell at the moment. We might stay on ground for now.
Final now.
Your final, reduce the power to 1,700 RPM.
Do you want an update now? Wait. Yeah, the aircraft's Cessna 152, it's Tango Foxtrot Romeo. They're currently on final. There's a student in the aircraft flying the aircraft with an instructor who is medically incapacitated. The student hasn't landed before, so we've got another instructor in the tower trying to talk him down. He's doing some practice approaches. He's currently on final runway 30 low, just behind the NDB as you're looking at it. And we're hoping to get him a little bit more proficient at the approach, and then we'll do an attempted landing.
Would you like me to increase flaps or no?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, increase power, climb now. Increase power, climb now.
Copy that, flying up, increasing power now. Foxtrot Romeo. I think I was going way too slow for that one.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, it's just the controller again. Yeah, it's just a little bit too low and too far out there. So we want you to stay nice and high until you're established on final, and then we'll bring you down from there.
Copy that.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, still doing a really great job. You're doing an amazing job, and we're going to get you on the ground real soon. Just keep in that left-hand circuit for me, and just keep on nice, easy, gentle turns throughout the circuit. We'll keep you at 1,000 feet as you're on that base and down to final, and we'll bring you down from there again.
Copy that.
Doing, Max?
What's that, sorry?
How are you doing? What's your altitude?
My altitude is 590.
Okay, you're also belting along, so if I was you, I'd reduce your power to about 2,300 and raise your nose in order to maintain altitude.
Copy that. Just letting you know that Robert's starting to wake up.
Okay, thank you very much. The controller's taking over.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, it's just the controller again. That's great news about Robert. Just keep maintaining that altitude for me. Just get back up to about 1,000 feet if you can. Just to keep you in the circuit. We're going to be bringing in a flying doctor arrival that's going to happen just while we're practicing your landings there. So just stay at 1,000 feet if you can, and when you're ready, start a left turn onto base for me.
So would you, Tango Foxtrot Romeo, do you want me to get to 1,000 feet first, then turn?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, 8 turn.
Jandakot Tower, g'day, Flight 612. We're coming up overhead now, 2,000 feet from the city. The last ATIS I had was hotel, and aware of the situation.
Flight 612, Frank, hotel is current. Overfly now, join left downwind runway 30 and descend 1,500 visual.
And we'll be tracking for downwind runway 30, left downwind 30, Flight 612.
Flight 612, just for your reference, the subject aircraft is turning on to about a 2-mile final. They're maintaining 1,000 feet. I'll get you in behind them at this time. They're just practicing approaches.
The 612, I've got him sighted.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo is set to 1,000 and reducing power to 2,300 to maintain that altitude.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, thanks. Keep that left turn coming. We'll get you back towards the airport now. So just make a left turn back towards the runways.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, receive.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, just to help you maintain that level of flight, don't forget your trim as well. Keep the trim nice and set for level flight.
Yeah, I have been.
Great work. You're well ahead of me.
I overshot the turn. That's okay. I'll just do a medium left. It's in my next lesson anyway.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, no, that's fine. Just keep, you're back on the final now, so just at 1,000 feet, we'll just get you to rejoin upwind.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, receive.
Flight 612, clear visual approach, and follow the Cessna on 2.5-mile final.
Visual approach and follow the traffic, Flight 612.
If you'd like to try and practice approach, we can do that now if you like. So it's reducing your RPM to 1,700, pointing the nose or flying directly at the threshold. And as you approach that threshold, you're going to be very gently lifting up the nose and reducing that power. Nice and gentle inputs with everything that you do.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, receive.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, you're doing a really great job. Make a nice easy climb out, same as before. Power on, gently lift the nose. Runway 30, clear to land.
Clear to land, Flight 612.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, is Robert awake?
Yeah, he's a little bit awake, but he just randomly tries to change the radio, and I just told him to just leave things alone for now.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, that's really, really good. He's probably a little bit groggy and not understanding what's happening. You're in charge at the moment, so what you're doing is really, really good. You're handling the situation really well. Keep that up. You're doing really great.
Thank you. Tango Foxtrot Romeo. Thank you.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, how are you feeling about those approaches? Do they feel pretty comfortable?
Yeah, they don't seem too bad. I think maybe another 2 more and I should be okay. Tango Foxtrot Romeo turning on to approaching. Sorry, what is this one again? Is this down? This isn't downwind, is it?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, no, you are on downwind, that's right. You're on just on the start of downwind bend now.
Copy that. Thank you. Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
Jandakot ground, flight on 612 for the set flight. We're off.
Flight 612, taxi to the set flight.
612, set flight.
Thanks for your patience out there.
That's the least we can do.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, we're going to have a go on practicing with the flaps. How does that feel? Tango Foxtrot Romeo, do you know how to work the flaps on the 152?
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, yes I do.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, roger. Just start your left hand out to base for me.
Copy that. Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, we're just going to reduce your speed again. So it's going to be just very gently reducing the power back to 1,700 RPM, lifting the nose slightly to get our speed back to 70 knots. Very gently lifting that nose up, just to maintain 70 knots and 1,700 on the RPM.
1,765 knots.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, yep, that's good. We don't want to drop below 70 knots though. So if you are starting to drop below 70 knots, we just need to lower the nose down a little bit, just to maintain that power, and then increase the engine just a little bit, just to maintain the height. How's that feeling?
Yeah, that's feeling pretty good.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, just a little bit more engine power please. You're dropping a little bit too low there. Yep, that's great. Just a little bit more power. Make sure you're aiming the nose at the threshold. It's the one with the red light sticking on it.
Copy that.
That's really good. Keep maintaining the speed. Lower the nose just slightly. Keep the nose coming down just slightly.
You want me to land?
Up to you, land it. Power on. Raise the nose slightly. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, power on, climb out. Power on, climb out.
Run out.
Yeah, good job. Good call.
Yeah, I'll do one more like that, and then I think I'll be right.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, let's try and land it on the next one, hey? That was perfect. Everything you did there was perfect. We're going to land it on the next one, yeah?
Copy that. Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
You got this, mate. You're doing really, really well. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, what we'll do is we'll get you to put the flaps just down a little bit, down to 10 degrees.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo. Yeah, I'm out of the white arc, so I'll just slow myself down first before I put my flaps up.
Yep, that's perfect. So just reduce the engine power a little bit. Remember to raise the nose a little bit as well, and then trim to get yourself into the wide arc. You're doing really, really well, mate. And when you're in that wide arc, we'll get 10 degrees flaps. Just lift the nose up for me, because we still need you to maintain 1,000 feet. I know it's a lot to keep track of, though.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo, you copy that. I'll climb to 1,000 and then adjust then.
Yep, perfect. You're doing really well, mate. Keep it up. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, we're going to do exactly what you just did before. This time we're going to land it, okay?
Copy that. Tango Foxtrot Romeo.
You're going to do great. This is exactly what you need to be doing. We're going to get you on the ground. We're going to get both you and Robert the help you guys need. And when you're ready, just make that base turn for me now. Yeah, great job. Alright, Tango Foxtrot Romeo, this is going to be the final approach down to the runway. Remember, RPM down to 1,700. Slightly raise the nose. We want to maintain keeping that nose pointed at the threshold. If you're starting to drop too low, increase the power to maintain your height.
Tango Foxtrot Romeo received.
Doing really well, mate. And as you're getting closer, we want you to cross that threshold at about 65 knots.
Robert, just leave.
We'll look at reducing that engine speed or that engine power as you're getting closer to the threshold. What you're doing right now is perfect, though. Keep coming. Looking great, mate. This is perfect. Keep it up. Nose down towards the threshold. Nose down. Nose down more, nose down more, nose down more, nose down more, nose down more. Perfect, perfect. Power, little bit, power off, power off, power off, power off. Raise the nose gently, raise the nose gently. Hold it off, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it right there. This is perfect. Hold it, hold it. Very gently start braking now. Gently start braking now, and you're down on the ground. You did it, mate. Well done. That's amazing. You've done so well. Just brake right there on the runway, and we're going to have all the vehicles come out and meet you on the runway. Just hold it right there. You've done absolutely an amazing job. Well done.
Car 5, do you want the aircraft to remain on the runway?
Car 5 and company at any position enter runway 30 to the subject aircraft. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, just stop the aircraft there. The vehicles are now going to come out and meet you there. Just, when you're ready, you can just stop there and engine down to idle. Mate, I'm saying the exact same thing. Can you maybe give us just a little bit more engine power? We'll just get you over the whole point line, just onto the taxiway there. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, congratulations on your first solo. Tango Foxtrot Romeo, the emergency vehicles are now with you. Just stop there, engine to idle, full brakes on, and they're going to come out and help you close out the aircraft and get Robertson help. Car 5, I've only got them on engine to idle. The engine will still be running. Can I get you to do the shutdown procedures for me, please? You've done great, mate. You can hand it over to the emergency services. Everything you've done has been absolutely perfect. Well done. Well done, mate. Catch you later.
And that's the end of the liveatc.com audio. If you haven't done so already, definitely go out to our show notes, click on the link to the landing video, and you can actually watch Max make his final landing. And finally, before we go, please tell all of your friends about the Aviation News Talk podcast. And if they don't know what a podcast is, the easiest way to get them set up is to have them take their phone, go out to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, where they can download our dedicated Aviation News Talk podcast app for free. Just have them search in the store for Aviation News Talk. So until next time, fly safely, have fun, and keep the blue side up.